What's good, guys? Venom Fire here, back in the video, and today I'm going to be talking about what you should do in Madden 21 to win games. Now, starting out in this video, I'm going to be talking about the Madden 21 Ultimate team building aspect to build your team the best way for success day one of the game. Later in this video, I'm going to be talking about a couple of scheme, just universal tips as far as gameplay is concerned. So if you're a regs player, make sure you stay tuned to the end. Also, guys, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. A small percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed, so make sure you subscribe, turn those post notifications on. You can always unsubscribe if you want. Now, first things first, we're talking about the Madden Ultimate team building aspect. Now, I'm more so going to be talking for the guys who are sort of no money spent. They only spend $100, $200 on the first day of the game. Now, if you do spend thousands, you'll probably just get the best player at every position, but I want to help out those who can't do that. Now, starting out, I think we got to begin at the quarterback position. Now, as you know, if you pre-order the game, you are getting a free base elite Lamar Jackson card. Now, you won't get that the first day of EA Access, which will be about a week before the launch, I believe, but you'll get that when the actual game is released. Now, Lamar Jackson is an interesting player because, yes, he's going to be very fast, but the downside is that he's not going to be able to throw the ball nearly as well as a pocket passer. So you could use him because he's free, but if you want any other options, let's say you also didn't pre-order the game, then a player who you can go with is maybe just any pocket QB like a Tom Brady or a Matt Ryan. Again, I like to stay away from those Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow type players. And again, lower overall QBs are not going to be the move. This is the position where I feel like you kind of have to break the bank. And if you're ever going to spend coins on a position, it has to be QB. Go high-end Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, those types of guys. Stay away from Dak Prescott, Carson Wentz, really just any low overall player, Goff. I would say 85 overall and above minimum. All right, now let's talk about a key position, running back. Now, this is a key position because I think this is where you save your coins for some other spots. Now, the reason that I like to do that is simply because running backs in the beginning of the year don't really matter besides speed. Now, yes, if you could buy a Derrick Henry, they're going to break a couple of tackles for you, but really, Derrick Henry and Ezekiel Elliott, you could build your entire offensive line for the price you pay for that one card. And realistically, if you're not running the ball every play, I think you go and get yourself a Raheem Mostert or a Matt Breida, one of those types of guys. And you save the coins. Again, you spend them somewhere else. Now, again, if you're running the ball every play, you go high end. You get yourself a Joe Mixon. You get yourself, one of those high overall running backs. But as far as, people are concerned, majority of us, I think, will be passing the ball in Madden 21. So, realistically, even if you are balanced, I would save the coins, not buy an Ezekiel Elliott or a Derrick Henry. I would just buy a Mostert or a Breida. Save your coins for receivers. Now, talking about receivers, it is always nice to get the higher overall players with better route running. They're going to run crispier routes. They're going to get more separation. But, again, we're balling on a budget. Just for the best success, with the cheapest amount of coins, you want to go with these fast receivers. I'm talking about guys like DK Metcalf, McCole Hardman, Hollywood Brown, Henry Ruggs, John Ross. Those, I just named 5 players that are going to most likely be gold players. A couple of them may be low overall elites, but for the majority of them, they're going to be very cheap players. And the reason I didn't bring up Tyreek Hill's name on that list was because his base overall, I think he's a 96. So in MUT, he's going to be at least probably an 87 overall. That means he's going to be a ton of coins. He's going to be the most expensive receiver in the game, hands down, in my opinion. So that's why I just mentioned 3, 4, 5 lower overall guys who are going to have good speed. And again, speed is really the stat that matters in the beginning of the year. The receivers always outrun the DBs this early. There's not going to be nearly as many fast defensive backs as there will be receivers. You just stack speed around. You buy 5 receivers because, sending receivers deep, they're going to get fatigued. You want to buy 5. You can sub people in and out. Now, that sort of is the same case for the tight end position. Tight end, guys, I would recommend Noah Fant. He's a good budget guy, as well as just your Darren Wallace and your Evan Ingram. Stay away from your Rob Gronkowskis, your Zach Ertz, your Kittles, your Kelseys. They're going to be high overall, better catching, but they're super slow. And realistically, I think a Darren Waller suits you even better. Now here's going to be a key issue, offensive line. A lot of you are probably thinking that you got to go heavy on the offensive line. You have a lot of time to pass the ball. You have good run blocking, but that's actually the opposite of the case. What you want to do with your offensive line is, I recommend just getting cheap. This is where you cheap out. This is where you spend $5K per offensive lineman. Now, if you have a little bit of extra spending cash, if you have extra coins, I would recommend getting your tackles first and then moving on to the center position. The guards are the least important position, as you might know already. So that's just a couple of base things I wanted to point out off the bat. And again, I'm not getting any elites on my O-line. Probably, maybe unless I pack one. I'm just going to go for 79 overalls, those types of players. O-line really doesn't matter, especially this early in the year. A lot of people aren't even going to be getting, too good of pass rushers to where your O-lineman's going to get killed every single rip by a Donald. No one's really buying those Aaron Donalds as much, especially if your matchmaking is good. You won't be getting matched up against God Squads. So that's pretty much a position I don't like to spend a lot of coins on, especially when you need it for QB and some other spots. With that being said, let's move on to the defensive side of the ball, and I want to start in the secondary. Secondary, you got to go speed. And although an Eddie Jackson type of a player with high zone coverage might look promising, the lack of speed really does make him kind of useless, and I hate saying the word useless, but it really is. Speed in this game is going to be more necessary on the defensive side of the ball than any other Madden ever, just because of how difficult it is to use, or the players seem to move a little bit slower. Now, cornerback's one position where I don't think the speed matters as far as zone coverage. Now, you still can get burnt by a Tyreek Hill on a streak, so you want some speed, but as far as a cornerback in a cloud flat, speed's not going to matter. Now, if you are running man coverage, you got to go speed. But even a Jalen Ramsey, I think, will just lock up a Tyreek Hill this year, depending on the speed advantage, on if they're pressed. Obviously, all those constants go into it. But obviously, you want to go speed first, and then you can look at some lower overall players. I don't think it at corner is as important as safety, but really it does depend on which defense you're running. Man, you got to go speed. Zone, I think your cornerbacks, you can lay off the speed a little, but again, safeties, you want speed all the way around. And again, linebackers, I think that's a spot where it really does depend if you're using a linebacker. Now, I'm always going to be using a safety. Using this year is terrible. So you want to make it as easy as it can be, so you got to use a safety, in my opinion. As far as the linebackers are concerned, I would just get high block shed players, high tackling players, because there are a lot of broken tackles this year. But, if you are using linebacker, just go for a Devin White, Devin Bush, just high speed, I would say. Again, I'm not really doing that, so your best case scenario would just be speed and tackling height, in my opinion. That's going to take us to our last spot, and I know I'm taking a lot of time on this. So again, if you are one of those players waiting for gameplay, we should be on the way soon. But talking about the defensive line, I really don't think the D-line is too important. This is going to be similar to, it always is usually similar to salary cap, if you know what that mode is in the beginning of the year. What I mean by that is you just go for, fast players with high finesse move. A Brian Burns type of a player, Danielle Hunter, he's going to be a high overall, but typically in the past he would be a good player to go to. Just look for speed, look for some height, look for a high finesse move, and throw him out there on your D-line. You should go crazy. And to stay away from those really slow players, those Danny Sheltons, to where you get a block shed and they can't even make the tackle. As far as breaking the bank for a defensive lineman, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but even Chris Jones, certain players, Calais Campbell in the beta, 95 plus overalls, just got stonewalled by low overall O-linemen. That's why I said you could go low overall O-line in D-line. I would also go low overall, spend the coins on your secondary, your receivers, and your QB. So that's going to do it for your lineup construction. I think with those base tips, you can really build a team with a lot of options, as well as getting a lot of success. And really, in the beginning of the year, the best way to make coins and build your team is just playing online head-to-head. So that's how I would recommend doing it. Alright, with that being said, let's hop into our gameplay tips. I'm going to start on the defensive side of the ball. This is going to be sort of a universal tip. You guys have probably heard it before, but this year more than ever, bend but do not break. If you give up big plays in this year's Madden, you will lose games. It's as simple as that. So in the beta, I just created, you know what I'm saying, a base defense where I play over the top heavy. I let him check down. And if he wants to throw 4-yard, 5-yard flat routes every play, set himself up in 3rd and 2s where, you know what I'm saying, anything can happen. And really what you got to do this year is force your opponent to make the mistakes. You can't give him anything. And especially with how easy it is to play offense, you got to make him drive down in 15 plus plays, at least 10 plus plays every drive. You can't give up chunk plays, can't give up big plays of, even 30 plus yards. I would say 20 plus because that will happen eventually if you're playing a good player, but you know what I'm saying, you just cannot give up those big plays. Also with that comes the red zone. You get him into the red zone, the field compresses. It's a lot more difficult to score in the red zone. It's a lot easier to play defense in the red zone. So you're going to be giving up field goals instead of touchdowns, and that's why you just can't give up big plays. Now as far as the offensive side of the ball goes, I would just give a base tip of keeping it simple. A lot of times people are going to come into the new game trying their, crazy Madden 20 scheme. You have 25 abilities on the offense, and you can just throw, just chuck it up and ag somebody with your streak specialist. Really, the first week of the game, you're trying to win games. You just got to keep things simple. Don't overcomplicate it. That's when I find myself personally, typically a very good offensive player, making mistakes is when I overcomplicate it. I try, weird route combinations just for fun. You just got to stick to the bread and butter of the formation. Don't overthink it. Don't max protect when you don't have to. That's something I find myself doing a ton. Just got to keep it simple. Keep simple hot routes. Don't overcomplicate. You don't have to hot route every person on the field. Just do what you have to. Snap the ball. And more times than not, somebody's going to be wide open. It really does come down to making a read in this game. In this game, it is very easy to do that, so I think you guys shouldn't struggle at all. But that's going to do it for the video. If you guys enjoyed this style of video, you want me to drop a couple of more of these before Madden 21 is released, let me know in the comments. Hit that thumbs up, show your support to the channel, and hit that sub button as well. Peace. I'm out of here.